First thing I was doing is feeling my leg to see if my leg was even still there. When Jakub found me in the grass, I was actually laughing. I was sitting up in the grass laughing because I couldn't believe that I was alive. What is up, guys, and welcome back to the One Night in Bangkok podcast. If you guys are new here, my name is Eric. I'm originally from the USA, and I've been living here in Thailand for 5 years now. If you are traveling to Thailand soon, or if you want to live here, hit the subscribe button. We've got so many cool people and stories I want to share with you, and I don't want you to miss anything. If you want the audio-only version of the podcast, you can check it out down below. It's on Apple and Spotify podcasts. And if you want to check out our new clips channel, One Night in Bangkok Clips on YouTube, we've got that going. We're posting short 5 to 10 minute clips from the show throughout the week. So if you don't have time for the full 1 hour long episode, you can check that out. Also, if you are having a good time with us and you want to support the channel, buy us a coffee down below. We put a lot of work into these shows and we appreciate your support. We just passed 10,000 subscribers. We're just getting this party started. We're going to grow this thing to the moon. So thank you for watching. Tonight, we have a bit of a different episode for you guys. I know a lot of what we cover is about nightlife or entertainment here in Bangkok, but one of the most profound experiences of my entire life happened here in Thailand a few years ago, and it's totally different than anything else we've talked about so far. And so I wanted to share the story with you guys. If you guys like this kind of format, let us know. If you don't like this format, then you could also let us know. But I figured I'd at least share this one story so you guys would know for your next trip to Thailand.
Okay.
About 2 years ago, my friend Jakub and I went up to northern Thailand to the province of Mae Hong Son.
Oh.
And did I say it correctly?
Correct.
And we did an epic 1 week motorcycle trip around northern Thailand. Now, we're not the first ones to do this. The name of it is the Mae Hong Son Loop. And it's about a 600 kilometer journey starting in Chiang Mai and driving north and then back around and then ending back at Chiang Mai again. The reason I want to share this story with you guys is because I think many of you watching have maybe been to Thailand at least a few times before, and maybe you want to try something new for your next trip. Or maybe you live here and you want a new experience. You want to get out of the city. You want to, get out of the very common places like Phuket and Pattaya. Well, this could be an option. Now, before I even get this story started, it is a little bit dangerous. Actually, it can be pretty dangerous, to be honest with you. But it was very exciting, and it was one of the best experiences of my entire life. So my friend Jakub and Jakub is one of the first people I met in Thailand. Actually, I think he's the first person I met in Thailand, period, when I moved here. I actually met him on Facebook about a week or two before I landed in Thailand.
Where he's from?
He's from the Czech Republic, and he had already been living here for a few years. He already had a Thai girlfriend for a few years, and he already could speak some Thai. In fact, the first time I met Jakub, he's a photographer, and I like doing photography too. We went to take some photos, and he blew my mind because we wanted to get some water. And so we went to the street cart where they sell water, and he ordered the water in Thai. And I couldn't believe that a Western foreigner could learn the Thai language. At that time, that was so shocking to me.
All right.
He just must have said "ao nam bao song khot khap," something like that.
Just basic.
It's very easy, but at the time it was amazing to me. So, but I met Jakub back in 2019 when I first got here. So now this must have been 2022. It was the first week of March 2022. So COVID was kind of over. It was kind of the tail end of COVID. He said, "Hey, I want to do this trip. Do you want to come?" I said, "Absolutely." So we met up at the airport and we flew up to Chiang Mai. And we got there on a Sunday. And Sunday is a great time to visit Chiang Mai because they have a very big Sunday night market. Have you been to Chiang Mai?
Yeah, once with my friend, but we went to the place where more chill, not dangerous, or even an idea to make motorbike trip like that. It's never in our mind because for Thai, even my mom always said it's too dangerous, so don't do that. But you guys did that.
So And I'm going to say also, before we go any further in this story, we made some mistakes. We didn't do everything perfectly. So I'm going to tell you a lot about the mistakes that we made, what I would do differently, what we did right. So if you want to try this, you can have a good experience too. So we landed in Chiang Mai on a Sunday, and we went to the Sunday night market. We just chilled. And the next morning we got up early and we wanted to rent some motorcycles. But we didn't want to rent just like a small motorbike. We wanted to get the full-size motorcycles. Now, I know when I tell the rest of the story, everybody's going to say, oh, you shouldn't ride motorcycle in Thailand. It's too dangerous. You don't know how to ride a bike. They're going to say something like that. Actually, I have a motorcycle license in the US.
That's what I'm going to ask. Like, you have it?
I didn't ride for a long time. And I have been riding like the little Honda motorbikes in Thailand during the time I'm here. I like quite a bit, especially on the islands and things like that. I wouldn't say I'm an expert. I'm not ready to be a Grab driver or a motor taxi driver, but I have a good amount of experience. But I never rode a big bike in Thailand until this trip. So actually, there's not even many shops in Chiang Mai that rent big bikes like this. So we found one, and they had Honda Rebel motorcycles, in case anybody was interested. I think we had Honda Rebel 400s or 500s. I can't remember. But it's a big bike. I mean, it's a full-size motorcycle.
Yeah.
It's not the smallest one, but it's not the biggest one. It's kind of
Is
like...
Is the good one, safe one?
Well, what's the safe one? I mean...
I don't know. Because you're going to rent like the full-size one, you better make sure that it's all safe.
It's like I'll put pictures of it here so you see what it looks like. It's not like a sport bike. It's like more of a cruiser bike. But for me, actually, it was a great bike because they're low to the ground, and I'm not tall. For Jakub, he looks kind of funny because he's very tall. And the bike is low to the ground, so his legs were kind of like... it's not the best fit for him. And by the way, I'm going to be putting footage all through so people are going to see what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So we rent the motorcycles at the shop, and I can't remember exactly how much it was. I think it was around 700 baht per day or 800 baht per day, something like that.
So cheap.
And I think it might have been even 1,000 per day. I can't remember, but I remember thinking it was cheaper than I thought it would be.
But do you have to make a deposit, like more than that?
Yeah, we gave...
In case like you broke it or...
Yeah, we gave a deposit, but it wasn't that much. I can't remember how much, but I want to guess it was maybe 10,000 baht. But for a full-size bike, I didn't think that was a lot. I don't remember exactly, to be honest with you.
And do they have like the paper that you have to sign? What if you got accident before?
Yeah. So anytime you rent a motorbike in Thailand, whether it's a small one or a big one, you usually leave a deposit, or they might ask for your passport, but you never give them your passport. You always try to leave a cash deposit. And they make you sign a paper that like you accept the condition, and we took pictures of the bike and everything, and this will come into play later, by the way. They gave me this nice red Honda motorcycle, and I'd never ridden a motorcycle like this in Thailand. And it's a manual transmission, not automatic, which again, I've done it before in the US, but I haven't done it for a while. So I had to get used to it again, driving around Chiang Mai. Like in Chiang Mai, they have like I forget what they call it. It's like a square in the middle. It's like the more historic part of Chiang Mai inside the walls. Do you know what I'm talking about? In the center of the city, there are these old walls that surround, I think they call it the old city maybe. And so to get warmed up on this bike, I would just drive around in a circle around this walled part of Chiang Mai.
I remember.
Yeah. So, but I got the feeling back pretty quick, so that was fine. One thing I wanted to mention though is they asked if we wanted to buy insurance with it.
How much?
And I think it was like an extra 100 baht per day or something, or maybe an extra 200 baht per day. I don't remember the exact price, but it wasn't that much more.
Cover everything?
It covered everything. So even medical treatment up to a certain point. So we said, yeah, sure, we'll definitely get that. So we got the bikes, we got settled with them, and this was in the morning. This was a Monday morning. And the first thing was I was smart enough to think, oh, I need a phone holder for my phone for the GPS. So I brought one. I bought one ahead of time on Lazada or something. Jacob didn't. So we had the bikes, but we couldn't leave because we need to get a phone holder. And it was actually a lot harder to find one than you would think. Because, I don't know, we couldn't find a shop that had one. Or they had one, but it didn't fit the motorcycle. And so if you're going to do a motorbike trip like this or a motorcycle trip, definitely think about what supplies you need ahead of time. And
because you don't know about the way to go.
Once you're out there, it's hard to get a lot of things. Even though Chiang Mai is a big city. And by the way, I wouldn't say you only can do this in Chiang Mai and Mae Hong Son. You could do this a lot of places in Thailand, I think. I think you could do it in Phuket. You could do it in Isan. You could do it in many places. And I would like to do this kind of trip again somewhere else, like maybe Isan. Maybe we'll go to Ubon. What do you think?
Can.
So we got the bikes. Jacob finally got his phone mount for his bike. And then we were on our way. And I also want to mention that for this trip, I was wearing long pants, jeans. I was wearing, most of the time I was wearing not a t-shirt like this, but long sleeves because I didn't want to get burned by the sun. But also, if I fell off the bike, I didn't want to get completely destroyed on the pavement.
All right.
We didn't have jackets. We didn't have like real motorcycle gear.
Is he done that before? Like Jacob, this kind of trip?
So Jacob was like a pro on the bike. It looked like he was riding all his life. He said he didn't ride that much, but he did a trip in Nepal.
All right. So he popped up the idea and then...
Made sense because we're going to get into it was quite challenging in some parts, but he was very good throughout the whole time.
So
even when
you were like, okay, no need the jacket because you're a pro.
I was wearing sneakers.
Yeah.
And even that's not that good. Like really for a trip like this, it's better to have boots or something. He was wearing first he was wearing sneakers, and then in the middle of the trip, his sneakers got destroyed and they fell apart. So he had to wear sandals, which is insane for a trip like this. Like going so fast in the mountains, like just wearing sandals is so dangerous. So don't do that. Don't be like Jacob. You should wear like at least good sneakers, if not actual riding boots.
Because you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah. I will say, I mean, if you're on like a smaller motorbike, I think in some ways it's more safe because it's a little more controllable, but in other ways it can be more dangerous because there are a lot of parts that are big mountains, which with climbing hills. And I think when you're on a big bike, you have more power to be able to get up some of those places. So whether you do it on a big size motorcycle, like a smaller motorbike, or even in a car, it's not the safest trip, no matter what. So we left Chiang Mai, and day one was, there's two ways you can go for this kind of trip. You can go either counterclockwise, which is you go from Chiang Mai towards Pai, or you can go clockwise, you can head west from Chiang Mai to Doi Suthep. How do you say the name of this place?
Doi Suthep.
Doi Suthep. It's a national park. And there is the highest point in Thailand. Yes. So we left the city and we decided to go west because that part of the trip is actually the most boring part. So we thought we'd do the most boring part first. And honestly, it was a little scary driving in very busy traffic, leaving Chiang Mai. But once you get out of the city a little, there's not many cars. So we stopped for lunch and then we took our time and eventually we ended up in the national park, Doi Suthep.
Yes.
And right away, I was so happy we went on this trip because we came across like a bunch of Thai children just playing in the river, like out in the middle of nowhere.
It's like the small village?
Yeah. And when they saw us, they were so happy.
Of course.
They're smiling, they're waving, they're saying hello. Yeah. And it was... Right away, I was so happy we decided to go on this trip. So we're entering the national park, and now we're starting to drive up the mountain more towards the top of the peak, the highest point in Thailand. And actually, I was surprised because as you go up the mountain, it gets really cold. Like we did this trip the first week of March, but the temperature went down to, I don't know in Celsius, but it went down to like 50 degrees Fahrenheit. So I think that might be around 15 degrees Celsius. I'm not sure, but it's very cold for Thailand.
Yeah.
And so we were kind of smart though. We packed jackets. So we put a jacket on as it got colder, and then we were able to take it off when it got hot. So we went to the very top of the mountain, cool view, whatever. But then this is where we started to have a problem. And by the way, guys, it's just, we each have a bike and we each have one bag each. We don't even have a plan of where we're going to stay or anything.
Just random.
Yeah. And we had a bag, and actually the bag Jakub had was like a really small backpack. I had like a bigger duffel bag, and we strapped it to the bike. And even that, by the way, if you're going to do a trip like this, bring your own straps, because we thought the shop would have this, and they gave us something, but it wasn't the best thing. And the last thing you want is your bag coming off the bike, because there's so many turns. I forgot how many turns are on this route, but it's hundreds of these like sharp turns and switchbacks. So we started down the mountain, and there's not really any traffic. It's just the two of us going down the mountain, but it's a long, long way down the mountain. And we're maybe 20 minutes on our trip down the mountain, and we're just enjoying the ride. And I have a problem. All of a sudden, my brake on the bike just stops working. Completely just stops working.
Both sides?
Well, on the left side on a motorcycle is not a brake, it's the clutch.
Oh.
The right
it
side,
doesn't help for the brake?
the left side is the clutch. It just can put it into neutral so you can switch gears.
Oh.
The right side is the main brake.
It's not like the automatic.
No.
Oh, that like it's brake both sides.
No.
Oh, I didn't know that.
On a full-size motorcycle, the right side handle is the main brake, and it's 70% of the stopping power. It's the front wheel. You have a pedal that's the back brake, that's 30% of the stopping power. But the hand brake is the main brake. And all of a sudden, I just went to use the brake, and it just stopped working. When I squeezed it, there was no pressure. And I was so shocked. I remember looking down at the handle, and I couldn't believe this was happening, because we're going down this steep, steep hill, and right up ahead, maybe a few hundred meters, there's a sharp curve around the mountain. And there's some guardrails, but then there's some areas that there's no guardrail. And I'm thinking like, I can't believe this is happening. And like this whole thing I'm about to tell you probably happened in 3 seconds, but it seemed like forever. So don't judge me too harshly, because if I knew then what I know now, I would have reacted differently. But a lot of the problem here was I was just so shocked at what happened. I didn't know how to react. So I went to squeeze the brake to slow down for this turn, but there's no brake pressure at all. It don't
work.
Like all of a sudden it worked, and then it didn't work at all. And Jakub is actually ahead of me. And I'm thinking like, what is going on? What is going on? And as I'm thinking this, like over the next 1 or 2 seconds, I'm speeding up, because we're going down. So it's getting faster and faster. And I'm thinking like, am I going to have to jump off this bike? Or, I don't know what to do. And at that time, there's actually now a pickup truck, a big like pickup truck behind
you.
And you know how people drive in Thailand.
Yeah.
Like they don't care about your safety at all. Like they're very, even though it's a big truck and I'm a little bike, he's very close to me. So I know I can't jump off because he'll just run me over.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, what should I do? And now I'm getting so fast. And at that last moment, I see there's a car up ahead, a little car, like a little yellow car, like a little hatchback, subcompact car, like a little cute little car.
Yeah.
And that car was slowing down for the turn. And I thought, okay, my only hope is if I aim the bike right into the car. Because if I don't hit the car, I'm going to go off the side of the mountain. I can't stop the bike.
You don't think that you're going to hurt people in that car if you just aim to that small little car?
Well, I thought I could try to aim and hit it cleanly from behind. And by the way, guys,
try to survive.
I don't know if the back brake would have worked. I think it was working because I think they're actually completely separate brake lines. And I'm going to explain what happened here in a second because I learned after. I think they're completely separate brake lines. So I think the back brake would have worked or it didn't have a problem, but I don't think I could have used it to stop because I was going so fast at that time and the corner was coming up. The back brake, I don't think would have been enough to slow me down before the turn. So, but most of the issue was that I was just so shocked at what was happening. I didn't react in time.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, okay, I'm going to just aim it for this car. The car slowed down for the turn and I aimed the bike right for the middle of the back bumper. And as the car slowed down, I smashed right into the car and I hit it so hard, the front wheel of the bike went like into the back of the car and it actually pushed the car forward.
But they didn't go in the
no,
sideway?
Because they were already like in the process of turning. So when I hit them, the car was small enough and I was fast enough that it actually pushed the car, which was good because it absorbed a lot of the impact. And I thought, once I hit the car, I thought, okay, I'm alive. Because I was still on the bike. I didn't get thrown off the bike. And then the car went to the right and I started going to the left. And there's a guardrail there on the side of the mountain. And I thought, okay, like I'm probably going to break my leg, but I have to stop this bike before it goes off the mountain. So I aimed for the guardrail and the side of my bike smashed into the guardrail and it crushed my leg between the bike and the guardrail.
Which leg?
My left leg. And then the bike fell over and we both slid down the...
Did he see that, Jacob?
So
or
Jacob...
heard, or he ahead of you?
I flew... So he was in front of me, but in this 3 seconds, because I had no brakes...
You speed up.
And this is a very steep hill, I went flying by him. And at first he thought I was just...
crazy.
Doing something crazy. But also he knows I'm not like that. So then he's confused. And then when I hit the car, he knows like, oh, something is wrong. So I hit the car, I go off and I hit the guardrail and then we slide across the pavement. And the first thing I think is like, okay, I'm alive. Oh, by the way, I was wearing a helmet. I had fingerless gloves, like half gloves. I had jeans. I had a t-shirt. I had a long sleeve t-shirt and I had like a not a motorcycle jacket, but like a
jacket for
a jacket because it was cold over it. And so I hit the pavement and I slid across the pavement. And then the first thing I thought was, I got to get off the road because I remember that pickup truck is still coming. In Thailand, they don't care. So I can't walk. So I crawl off the road into the grass and I just like flop over into the grass. And Jacob stops. Of course, the pickup truck doesn't stop. It just keeps going. The car that I destroyed, what do you think they did?
I don't know if they're panicked, like the truck behind them might be, crash on them again.
So,
but what?
Here's the weird part.
What did it?
I smashed into this yellow car. I pushed it forward. I see they like hesitated for a minute and then they just drove off. They just left. And I wondered about this.
Did they stop?
No. They just left. And when I tell you I destroyed the back of their car, like there is an Eric size hole in the back of the car. Like the glass wasn't broken, but you could hide a person in this hole. It was so deep. Like I don't even know how it was possible to make a hole like this in the back of the car. I wondered, why did they just take off? And I realized, they think they caused the accident by slowing down for the turn. They thought for some reason it was their fault.
They might thought that like maybe have some cars coming behind them.
They could have pulled over.
So or maybe it's just the way that they cannot really know spot to park.
They could have pulled over even if it was a little ways down the hill, but they didn't. They slowed down and then they sped off. I saw them. So I think they thought they were going to be responsible for something and they didn't want it. And so they just left. But I was lucky because one of the cars coming down the mountain, like not far behind, there was a nurse in the car. So they pulled over and they ran over to help me. And Jacob came over and he was like freaking out. And first thing I was doing is feeling my leg to see if my leg was even still there, because I hit the rail like very, very hard. And actually my leg is not broken. I can't walk. There's something messed up with my ankle, but my leg was not broken. When Jakub found me in the grass, I was actually laughing. I was sitting up in the grass laughing because I couldn't believe that I was alive. Not only did I survive like going into the car, but then I survived going into the rail, and then I didn't get run over. So he was like so confused, like, why am I laughing? What happened? Like, and I tried to tell him like, hey, the brake doesn't work, and he didn't believe me. And then the bike was on the ground, and he went over to it, and even like a few minutes after the accident, the brake still didn't work.
It's not working. See, the brake doesn't work. It just stopped working right in the middle of the road as we were going down.
So what we think happened is there's something with motorcycles called, or I guess it could be any kind of car, but with motorcycles, it could be a thing called brake fade. And it's when the brakes get so hot that they boil the fluid in the brake line. And when the fluid boils, it just loses all pressure immediately. And this can happen. I've read that it happens more commonly with like sport motorcycles when you're going very fast and you're trying to slow down from high speeds. For us, we weren't really going that fast. We were going most of the time like, I don't know in kilometers, maybe like 30 miles per hour. I'll put the kilometers. It's probably like 50 kilometers per hour, 40, 50. But the problem was we were going down the mountain for so long because the mountain is so tall. And we were using the brakes so much to go down the mountain that it must have heated the fluid, and then that's when I lost the pressure. I think if I were to do this again, I would rely a lot more on what you call engine braking. It's when you shift into a higher gear and there's more drag on the gears, and that helps you slow down more.
Usually, if you didn't speed up, it's actually gonna slow down, right? It's just like, and then you have to, if you're not panic, you can just like still keep controlling and then go to.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. You're saying if this happened, I could have shifted up in gears and the bike's transmission would have slowed me down. But the problem was this happened so quickly. I didn't know what was going on.
3 seconds.
I didn't know what was going on. And we're coming up on a turn. I wasted probably 2 seconds of that just trying to understand what was even happening. Like now, if this happened to me, the first thing I would do is go on the back brake and then shift up in gear and then pull over to the side. Like I'd have that down. It's like, you know what it's like?
You have time.
Yeah. Well, no, now I'm like ready for it mentally.
All right.
Like it's like when like pilots train to fly the airline, they have to do drills on different situations. Like if the plane stalls, what do? You do this. If you're coming in for a landing and something happens, what do? You do this. I didn't have that preparation. But now if I did something like this, I would be ready for a situation like that. But it's honestly, it's inexperience. Why did the brakes fail so easily though? Because I thought about it for a long time. I feel like they shouldn't have failed that easily. I feel like it's not normal. I think maybe because the bikes are used a lot, they're not maintained that well.
Yeah.
Maybe.
They let them, like people rent it.
And it's one thing if you're renting like a poorly maintained bike in Pattaya and driving around the streets at like a few kilometers an hour and you're in traffic, like that's not going to be a life or death thing. But when you're driving at full speed down a mountain and there's a problem with your bike, there's a problem with your equipment, that's when it can become really dangerous.
I think the thing is, if they're gonna let some people to rent like a full size motorcycle like that, and if it's used many times already, they should give some like suggestion. Okay, you can ride it, but don't drive it like too fast, or like check it, or some checklist to make the customer sure that okay, is it safe enough, or you cannot do something more than the things that they already told you.
And the shop didn't tell us anything. Like in Thailand,
any
they don't
advice?
You,
like okay,
I mean, you know how it is.
You shouldn't drive that fast.
They don't
you
ask
shouldn't
you,
drive to the very like on the top of the mountain.
like they don't ask
Nothing.
you if you have a license or anything like that.
Yeah.
Usually they'll
and then they cash you.
they'll rent it to you, and then they'll maybe just as you're leaving with the bike, they always look at you to see if you're okay with it or not.
Oh, just
like,
that.
Because a lot of foreigners come to Thailand, they never ride bikes before.
Yeah.
But for some reason they come here and they think, oh, it's a great time to learn in Thailand, where it's like the highest road deaths in the entire world. So yeah, the shop didn't say anything, but they saw us get on the bike. We put it into gear, like, we looked like we knew what we were doing to an extent, and they knew where we were going. They knew our plan. So it wasn't like we were doing something we weren't supposed to. In fact, a lot of people do this exact thing. They rent bikes in this area in Chiang Mai, and then they do this long trip. So it's not uncommon. When the accident happened, the police came. The nurse tried to help. The police came, and then an ambulance came, a Thai ambulance. Let me put it this way, guys. If you have to be taken away in a Thai ambulance, I would just say your prayers then if you're still alive, because you might not. It's very scary. Like if you're relying on an ambulance in Thailand, there's a good chance you're not going to make it, because I was lucky in this situation. We're in the middle of nowhere, so there's no traffic or anything. But this ambulance was basically just a van. Like it wasn't like an ambulance like we have in America or Europe.
Right. Yeah, in Thailand we do have like many kind of like ambulance. Sometimes it just some foundation make it for non-profit, so it's not like a proper one.
Yeah.
But like it can help you.
And I didn't actually want to take the ambulance. I wanted to just go with the police in the car.
Police gonna help you with your leg?
Well, I wasn't actually injured, except I couldn't walk. There was something wrong with my ankle. So I could just like sit in a car. But this very nice, flamboyantly gay guy that worked in the ambulance was like, no, come with me, come with me. He wanted me to go with him. So I was like, oh, all right, let's go. So I went in the ambulance with him. So they took they took me to a hospital at the bottom of this mountain in the middle of nowhere. I don't even know where it is, and I wish I could name them, because I was so amazed by their support and their service at this hospital. I call it a hospital. It's really just like a building that's one room.
Did you take a picture?
I don't think I have a picture from the hospital.
If it was me, I'm gonna take a picture real quick.
It was, and then so they wheeled me in, and now it's nighttime too. Right when this accident happened, it was probably around 6 p.m. So the sun was just going down, but now it's dark. They take me to this hospital, this building. They wheel me in a wheelchair, and immediately 3 very attractive Thai nurses come to my aid. One is like assessing the damage on the leg, like trying to dress the wound or whatever. One is taking my vital signs, and one is taking like all my information on a clipboard. And I couldn't believe like how, I mean, I imagine they don't get many people being in the middle of nowhere. But when I came in, they were like super professional. Like they do this all the time. Like, and then after they were done, the doctor came to see me. They didn't give me an x-ray, but from the evaluation, they thought my ankle is sprained. Like I couldn't believe my leg's not broken in 4 pieces, but apparently it's just my ankle is sprained. So I was there for probably like 1 to 2 hours, and then they're going to let us go. So I say, how much do I have to pay? And they said, you don't have to pay anything. And I couldn't believe that. They didn't want any.
Did you ask why?
No. No.
Why not?
I don't know, but, and then I don't know why, but it was one of those like, I don't know, Thai culture things.
Or I guess maybe it's not like a big accident. Like, I mean, if you're injured, but like it's not big, you're not like, your leg is not like torn off. So they might like, it's okay.
But the reason it's strange to me, especially as an American, is the healthcare in the US is so expensive.
Yeah,
and
I
to
see.
go into an emergency room in America, even if they don't do anything, it's going to cost, even with insurance, it would cost more than 30,000 baht, more than 35,000 baht. You know, depending on where you go. But I'm in Boston, so.
But I heard that like in America, it's hard to like get into the hospital. Or
yeah, well,
or
for
it's
an
like
appointment,
if you're gonna take the medicine, you need to get the medication paper from the hospital first, and then can go to the clinic?
It depends.
It's something
But
complicated,
like, for
right?
example, my father needs surgery.
Uh-huh.
Before he can do the surgery, he needs to have a test. But they can't do the test now.
Too many process.
They need to schedule it 2 months from now.
Yeah.
They do that, then they schedule the surgery.
Yeah.
But he needs the surgery now.
Yeah.
So I just couldn't believe that they did such a good job here, and then they
Mm-hmm.
didn't try to charge me or anything.
Yeah, because it's not that big accident.
And trust me, when they rolled me in there, I think the girls get excited because they never see a foreigner.
All right. I think maybe the way that they have like a pretty good like service for you I guess it might happen many times, but not just like it's just like some normal accident, but you just like have a motorcycle trip, but it might happen many times already because it's Chiang Mai, the loop.
Yeah, but this place in particular, I mean, I don't know how far out of Chiang Mai it was, but hours. So, yeah, I just wish I knew where it was so I could shout them out. So, I couldn't walk at this point, but I rode on the back of
Stop
Jakub.
you for the trip?
No, I couldn't ride. Well, my bike was kind of destroyed now. So, the police took the bike. They put it in the back of like a pickup truck, and they said they were going to bring it to a police station. And by the way, the police were so chill. Like in America, they'd be so serious. They'd be like, I don't know. The police didn't even really talk to me. They didn't really even care. They were just like so chill, like, oh, whatever, let's do this. They took the bike and they took it away. So I just rode on the back of Jakub's bike from the hospital, and then we tried to find a hotel. But in these areas of Thailand, there's no like Hilton hotel. There's no Marriott.
Yeah.
It's very small, kind of. They have like 4 rooms or something like that. And it's, I would say
apartment.
Not an apartment. It's like a hotel room kind of, but
Homestay.
In the US we'd call it like a motel. Like it's not like a big building.
Yeah, motel. It's 300, 400.
Yeah, it's most of the rooms we saw are like on the trip, they're like 400 or 500 baht per night. But there's no other option. There's not a better option. This is it. So we stay in this room. I don't know if I have any footage from it, but it was kind of scary. And then the next day we get up and we go to the police station, and I give like I told them I want to make like a statement because I figured I would need an official report to go back to the bike rental place to be able to use the insurance or whatever. And we also contacted the bike rental place. And the weird part was when we told them what happened,
they're not surprised.
they weren't surprised. They didn't say anything, but it's almost like this has happened before.
Yeah.
And I think
maybe had some problems
but they didn't
before.
it's almost like they didn't want to admit it or something.
Yeah.
So I make the report for the police, and the police ask, like, what's the shop name? What's the number? The police want to call the shop. So they call the shop. They talk back and forth, whatever. The police write the report, and they give me the report to sign. But I've been in Thailand for more than 5 minutes. So before I signed it, I took a picture of it, and I sent it to my Thai friend, and I asked her to tell me, what does this say? And it said basically there was an accident, but it didn't say anything about the brakes or anything about that part.
Otherwise, it's gonna cause a problem to the motorbike
Yeah.
rental shop.
So I said to the police, I want this part in the report. And the police, it's like, oh, you caught me. Like, it's like, oh, he knows that and so he's like, well, we have to call the shop. And they don't really speak English out there either. Not much English at all. So it's quite difficult to communicate. So then they call the shop back. There's some back and forth. They don't want to put something in. The shop did not want to put in the report this issue about the brakes. But they refused to do it. And the police refused to put it in the report either. But I said to them, I said, this is my statement. Like, it doesn't mean it's necessarily 100% what happened, but you need to take my story and write it down. And I signed that as my story. And they wouldn't do it. So we left. And then I don't know if it was later that day or the next day, we came back, we talked to them again, and eventually they put it in the right way. But that was kind of an interesting thing because the police shouldn't be talking to the shop owner about what goes in my statement.
That's why I said it might happen many times, especially with that motorcycle rental shop.
Yeah.
Then that's why you have a got the good service from the small hospital, and like that's why they didn't take your report.
Yeah. So on the bright side though, the shop, we had to wait in that town one day. That next day, the shop brought up another bike. Oh, Jakub said to me, he thought the trip was over. This was the first day. He thought it was over. And I woke up the next day and I said, nope, let's go. So the shop drove up another bike. They had two people drive another motorcycle and a pickup truck. They put in the pickup truck. They drove out to us. I think it was probably about 6 hours from Chiang Mai. So it wasn't close. And they unloaded it. They took the old one. And that was it. Same color too. I had a red one. I gave it back to them. They gave me another red one.
Did you check the second one?
The second one I checked really well, but I noticed immediately. And the other thing is, the broken bike, the brakes worked again, kind of, because I think the fluid settled and it worked again. But you could tell there was a big difference between the brake pressure and the old bike compared to the new bike. So now whenever I rent, even if it's a small motorbike, like in Pattaya or wherever, I'm like very focused on how are the brakes, because that's what's going to stop an accident.
Any tips for me? Because I'm a girl, I don't know like which part that I should check. I just like rent it and then like drive it.
When you squeeze the brake, you can see how much pressure there is. But in this case with the big bike, this situation I had, I don't think I could have known that this was going to happen. I don't know what the maintenance is on this bike. And when you put the bike in a very stressful situation, that's when you could have a problem. Just like same with a car, right? You could have car tires that are worn out. But if you're just driving around town here and there, probably not going to be a problem. But if you drive very fast on the expressway or something and it's raining, that's when you're going to have the problem. So there's some things you can check and some things you can't check. Like I said, though, if I was more experienced, I think I would have been ready for a situation like this, and I could have probably saved it. But because I wasn't expecting it, I never experienced this before, that's why it happened the way it happened. So I'm not just going to blame them. I'm going to blame me too. But yeah.
Or the tips for me maybe just don't do the motorcycle trip.
Yeah, definitely don't rent a big motorcycle unless you have some. Even I have a license. I feel like I wasn't experienced as I could have been for this kind of trip. So we get the new bike and then we continue on our way. And we only had one backpack too, so we couldn't bring many clothes. So in these towns, you'll just be driving down the street, and on the side there'll be some house that has a washing machine outside, and it'll say like 30 baht, and you just bring them your clothes and they wash it and you pick it up a few hours later. So we get the new bike and then we're gonna head out, but because of this issue with the police, we got delayed. So we couldn't leave this town until I think it was around 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. And it was a few hours until the next stop. And I said to Jakub, like, do you think we should go? Because I don't really want to ride at night, because when you're out there, there's no streetlights or anything. It's completely dark out there. If there's no moon, there's nothing. But he's like, oh no, let's just go and then we can stop after 2 hours. Let's just get a little way down the road. So we start riding, and one thing that night that was really incredible, I would see these lights out on the mountain, and I didn't know what they were because it's totally dark, but I see these lights like moving on the mountain, and then we're getting closer and we're getting closer.
In high.
And then when I realized, oh, the mountain is on fire, because this was the first week of March. So this was a little bit early, I guess. This was early in the burning season.
I thought you felt like some animal, like some
No.
It's fire. Okay.
But it was the beginning of burning season. Now, burning season in northern Thailand is when, the way I understand it anyway, is when the farmers burn their fields
To
to
get
clear
ready.
the land so they can plant the
Check.
New Year's crops.
Yeah, because it's fast for
Because
them.
it's fast and cheap, probably.
Yeah, but that's why Chiang Mai have very
Yeah.
high air pollution.
Yeah. So around that time of year, so we were at the very beginning of this, I think first week of March. I think usually it's more in mid-March to mid-May. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. But you really don't want to be in Chiang Mai in like April because it's the worst air quality in the entire world. That's not an exaggeration. Worst air quality in the world during that time. In fact, you look outside and it just looks like fog over the whole city. So it wasn't that foggy at this time, but I remember thinking like, why is the whole mountain on fire? Because this wasn't like a farm. This was just a mountain. And I assume what maybe happens is the farmers like burn their fields, but then the fire spreads somewhere else. And then now the whole mountain is on fire.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're driving further and further, and this is at night in the dark, and there's more and more fire.
So the air,
So the air is getting worse,
you breathe in.
and now we're going kind of like between two mountains, and it's like the fire is getting closer and closer to the road until at one point there's fire on both sides of the road for many kilometers. And we're just driving through the fire, like through the middle of the fire.
That would be nice if it's a movie.
Yeah.
Nice, like, scene.
Yeah. It was
But
crazy.
it's scary.
Yeah.
You could have died.
And now every time we go down like a hill or down a part of a mountain, I'm very scared about the bike.
Yeah. For how long, like, the fire, like, along the way?
It got better at some parts and worse at other parts, but there was
still
definitely
always have.
probably about like 15 or 20 minutes where there was a lot of fire.
Oh.
Yeah, because what happens if like we get stuck or if the bike breaks down? Like it's just the two of us out there. We have our phones, but maybe there's not service. There's no lights. There's no cars coming by.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually, and then we had a new problem. We're running out of gas. There's no gas stations, right?
And it's dark.
And it's completely dark.
Nighttime.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Eventually, we start to come close to another town and we find a gas station. And by gas station, it wasn't like a Shell station
It's
or
just like
Tesco.
the machine that you.
It's like a barrel filled with gasoline. And they pump it up into this thing. Like they use a hand pump to pump it up into this hose. And then it flows into the bike.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen anything like that in my life.
Yeah.
So that was interesting.
I've seen that, but it's kind of very old style, or you're gonna see that in local places because my grandparents used to have the gas station like that, but in the old style in our house. So yeah.
Because when you're in tourist places, even if there's not a gas station, maybe they have someone that sells the bottles, little bottles.
Like a big
Yeah.
Or it could be like a box.
Yeah.
Box.
So we got the gas and then we need a place to stay. We don't know where to stay. And Jacob says, oh, there's some kind of resort not far from here. So we say, okay. So we go and there's an entrance and we turn into the entrance and we drive down this long driveway. And going down this long driveway, it was like, if you've ever seen or heard of the movie like Friday the 13th, the movie with Jason, the killer with the mask, it's like the movie takes place at a campground. That's what it was like. It was like a scary campground. We pull up in the middle of nowhere. There's just one security guard at the front. He lets us in. And he must have radioed someone because then a guy comes out to come to like the desk or something. So we ask if they have a room and he's like, yeah, we have this room. I forgot how much it is. And he shows us. And it's just crazy. This is not like a small hotel like the first one we stayed at. This is like a resort, but in the middle of nowhere. And the next morning when we woke up, I couldn't believe what it looked like outside. It didn't look like Thailand. To me, it looked like in the US, it looked like the state of New Hampshire. Like, you won't know what that is, but it's like a very mountain part of the US, cold, but it's the trees there are like cold weather trees. And normally in Thailand, when you see trees, it's like palm trees, tropical trees, things like that. This was not
Colorful.
like that. I don't know what kind of trees these were, but this was something you would see in like a ski resort town or something. Like I never saw anything like this in Thailand. In this resort we're at, they have all like A-frame cabins, like camping or trailers you can stay in. We didn't stay in a trailer. They have some hotel rooms, but it's like this interesting kind of place. So I would never know about this place or find this place unless we just
So
drove
it
by.
looks nice, or
Yeah, I think it's kind of an interesting place, but it doesn't look like Thailand at all. I have some video footage I'll put in.
it's like a dome like this.
Well, no, not that. It's they have some like wood cabin. We call it like an A-frame. I don't know if I have the exact pictures of this place, but I'll put some in. They have those, and then they have some like trailers that like in the US we have like Airstream trailers, like a metal trailer, camping trailer. So we didn't stay in those. We stayed in the crappy hotel room for 500 baht per night. But we didn't know these things were here. Like we couldn't see it at night because it's all in the dark. So we got up, we had breakfast, and then we headed out again. And when we headed out, we're driving through the mountains more. And then we come to another town. And this was probably the first town we come to that we feel like, okay, this is kind of a busy area. And it was very interesting to see like how Thai people live. They're on their own. They don't really deal with outside people. No foreigners, no English, no tourism. It was just interesting for me to see how Thai people live in their own country. Because as a foreigner, all the places I go, whether it's in Bangkok or if it's in Phuket or Krabi, anywhere I would normally go, the people there are used to dealing with foreigners. They work at the hotel, they drive the taxi, something like that.
So it's just another town, but it's not like a city wiped. It's more like countryside.
No, it's like all of the towns along this path, it's like there's nothing for many, many kilometers and then a small town. And then nothing and then a very small town. And when I say a small town, I mean like you know what it reminds me of? You know when they film movies and they make like a fake town to film the movie and it's just like a small area they film in?
So they just live in their own.
That's what it's like. It's like this little, very small area. And like I remember getting lunch there. Nothing is in English. And back then, I didn't have nearly as good Thai language skills as I have now. I couldn't read any Thai then. Jakub was actually pretty good at speaking. I don't know if he could read, but he's pretty good at speaking. So that helped a lot. But I just really enjoyed visiting these towns that nobody ever visits, basically. So we left there. We didn't stay over there. We didn't stay over there. We left there and we headed north. Now we're heading north. We're in Mae Hong Son province, but we're heading towards the city of Mae Hong Son. And on the way there, we took a little detour off the main path. Jakub said there's some cool viewpoint. And I don't know the exact name of it. Actually, maybe I could show you and you could translate it for me.
Why? Tung Bua Tong Fields.
What does that mean?
I think Bua Tong, it could mean of like the names of the flowers there.
Oh.
Because Tong, it's mean golden.
It's the yellow flower, right?
Tung, it's mean field, right? And Bua Tong, I think is the name of the flower because Tong, it's mean gold.
So I think we call these
like,
sunflowers.
Yeah.
In English.
Is it sunflower there?
Yeah. I think there's sunflowers.
Bua Tong is like a golden field.
We took this detour and we went like into the wilderness, into the mountains. And it's like, I don't even know where we're going. Like we'll every once in a while, we'll come across a very small village. And it's just me and Jakub riding motorcycles, ride through this village. All the kids see us, like very interesting experience. And we're heading towards the top of this mountain and we can see it in the distance. And I'm going to put the video footage here. It is absolutely incredible. Like we had the drone, like we got there at sunset and the combination of the sunset and the lighting and the view from the top of this mountain, it was one of the most incredible things I've ever seen with my actual eyes, like not in a picture. So we spent maybe an hour up there just basically chilling and taking some. Actually, my photo from the channel, I'm riding a motorcycle, was taken in that spot. I'll put the.
I think I saw your video that like someone ride it. Yeah, but like the drone wheel. So
yeah.
need to Jacob stop and like.
We could do. Yeah, this was
record
this was the area. Yeah.
But whilst you riding, so Jacob like.
Well, you can put it on an automatic thing where
to
it follows
track you?
or we would take turns, something like that.
I see.
Yeah. So it was incredible though. But the problem is now it's getting dark and we have to go back the way we came. And riding these trails is challenging but not too bad when it's daylight. But in the dark with no street lights, with all the bugs hitting you, it's very
Scary.
challenging. Yeah. So, and then sometimes it's not paved road, it's dirt. And you're really careful. You don't want to get a flat tire.
Or it might have some hole.
Yeah, you don't want to get a flat
way.
tire because we're out in the middle of nowhere. So we come back down off this mountain, this viewpoint, and we try to find a town that's got some hotel or something. And again, there's not many options. We find a cheap hotel. We get some food. And I love that we can go to these places. The Thai people we meet, they're so nice. They're so friendly. They're happy to have us there. They're very welcoming. And I think that's one unique thing to Thailand. It's like these strangers come from wherever in the world. They show up here and it's like happy to talk to you or feed you or whatever. The next day, we are on the way to Mae Hong Son. And we thought that town would be more interesting than it was. Actually, really, a lot of the enjoyment for this trip wasn't the places we went. It was like the journey getting there.
Yeah,
I hate the
along
sound
the way.
because we drove
Sound like a hurt.
Yeah, we drove through incredible landscapes with the mountains on both sides, and in the morning there's the fog, and we see the monks. We're in the middle of nowhere, and we see the monks walking on the road in the morning.
Yeah, of
to collect
course.
the food. But there's nobody around. It's just
normal.
like the monk in the mountain, and there's maybe a dog. Like it's incredible. So we got to Mae Hong Son, and the town. I mean, it's a much bigger town, and it was not. I mean, it was fine. We got some food. They have like a tourist office there, and if you go there, they will give you like
exactly where you should go.
No, they give you like a sticker or an award or something that says that you completed this trip. Like it says like I completed the whatever loop 650 kilometers, like official thing. So we got that.
So you just asked for that, or they just knew that you have a motorcycle?
Well, we show
trip?
up on it's a small office. We show up on the bikes. They have us like sign something, and then they give us
interesting.
Yeah. So we checked out a temple there. It was okay. It's nothing exciting. Then we went to a very interesting place. We went to this place called Rak Thai, or I don't know how you say it.
Rak Thai.
Rak Thai.
Yeah.
So this place is like a Chinese style village on the very edge of Thailand, on the Myanmar border. And even getting there was not easy. It's way out in the middle of nowhere. And driving into this town, it looks completely different. It's not green and lush like a lot of Thailand in the mountains. It's a lot of like dirt, like orange colored dirt. And it seems like the area has like a lot of poverty. Like it's not a very wealthy area, but at the same time, it's like a tourist destination. Or I don't know who goes to this place. We saw a lot of Thai people there. And it's all Chinese style stuff. And I remember when we were pulling into the hotel, and this was the most expensive hotel we stayed at on this trip. It was 1,500 baht per night, which we thought was so much money for this middle of nowhere place. But the view is incredible. I'll put the footage in. It's very interesting place. But we pulled into the hotel, and there were two guys, like older men, maybe 50 or 60 years old, getting out of a car with two younger women. And at first I thought it was their daughters, because they were much younger. But then the way they were acting, they were holding hands. I'm thinking, I don't think it's their daughters. And Jakub says to me like, oh, that's their like, I forgot what.
Wife?
Yeah. But I think it's like Mia Noi. Like something like that.
No, I like in the part of northern part.
Yeah.
They like to marry in the young age,
Really?
and I think it's some community of them like they can have like many wife.
Okay,
So
maybe.
they kind of accept that because you kind of have a man who can take care of you, like to be a leader of your family.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It seemed
I don't
to
think
me
they're
like
Myanmar things.
okay. It seemed to me like he took his young
Yeah.
girlfriend or something on a trip for the weekend or
Uh-huh.
something like that for a few days. It's like a resort or like a retreat area. So we stayed there for a day. You can actually drive right up to the border with Myanmar, and we saw people going in and out. Thai people, Burmese people, I don't know, but I wonder how that works. Like they didn't seem to be checking any passport or ID or anything.
Mm-hmm.
They have like the military there, and they open the gate and they let them in, or they let them go out. So yeah, I didn't want to get too close because I don't want to cause any problems. But yeah, I was curious about how that works because I think at this time the war in Myanmar had already started. I could be wrong about that. So we spent the night there and then we headed off. Now we're kind of in the last big leg of the trip and we're heading towards Bai. And for those watching, I said that correctly, right?
Correct.
Bai,
Yeah.
not pie,
Yes.
Bai.
Bye.
Yeah. So it's a very northern city in Thailand. But on the way there, we stopped at this national park that has this cave system. And I'm sorry, I forgot the name. Maybe I can look it up. But they have these like natural caves, and you can hire a guide for like 2 hours, and they take you through the caves. And one thing I liked about it was that it's a cool experience going in these caves, and you go on a raft because some of the caves are flooded. So they have these bamboo rafts that you sit on, just like two people, and a guy with a stick like pushes you across the water.
Oh.
And I remember I heard a noise. I'm like hearing a noise in this giant cave. And I look up and the whole ceiling of the cave is covered in bats.
All
like-
right. Yeah.
But I liked it because it's a very unique thing like that. But what I didn't like is when you hire the guide, it's like they just take you and tell you the same things they tell every other group. And they'll take you to this rock and they'll be like, this rock looks like popcorn, so we call this one popcorn. This one looks like this other thing, so we call it this. And this one looks like this, so we call it this.
It may be something that it's like their script.
Yeah,
you know?
they have their script. It was so boring though.
Oh.
Yeah, and I noticed many like Thai and Chinese people on this kind of.
Maybe it just the script. It's very easy for the tourists to understand because have Chinese people, they might need some really basic thing, then they can understand. So when it's come to you, they might cannot speak English that fluent. That's why they need to use the script and some basic thing that they already prepared.
The tour was basically pointing out all the different rocks and what foods they look like, and then they called them that. But they showed us, we climbed up these stairs to like this upper part of the cave, and they have like a casket or where like a body goes, I think. Like there was a person they found there like from hundreds of years ago or something.
Right.
Something like that. I don't know. So it was some cool stuff if you're into nature and like hiking and stuff like that. This wasn't like the cave that those boys got stuck in. Remember the soccer team? Remember that story a few years ago?
Yeah.
It wasn't like
Mopa.
that. This was like much more touristy, but it was still cool. I'll put the name if I can find it of the caves thing below. So we left there. We drove through a few other small, again, I said it before, but like there'll be nothing, just nature, mountains, like up the mountain, down the mountain. And then there'll be like a little town. And in that town, there will be like a few small local shops. There's no big brands.
Which is nice. You know, explore new things, unexpected things coming.
Even the food, like we order something and maybe it's
you get something else.
It's prepared. Okay, so I ordered people are gonna like laugh at me. I ordered some shrimp dish, shrimp, but the shrimps they gave me were like, it's like they took it out of the water and they just put it on the plate. Like it's got everything is still attached. No, it's like the eyes, the legs, the antenna. Like, it's like, what am I supposed to do with it? Like, I think I'm just saying it's clearly for local Thai people. And like, I just was like, I don't know what I'm doing here
But
with this.
you ate it anyway.
I try, or I try to order something. Like, even then, I didn't know as many Thai foods as I know now. Like, now I'd be able to do much better,
yeah,
I think.
you know many, but you still order the same.
I still have my favorites.
Kapow.
So we eventually that day made it to Bai. Now, Bai, I think people will have very different opinions on. It's been in the news recently. I don't know if you saw it, because I think it's basically overrun with Western tourists now.
Mm-hmm.
And the best way to describe it is it's kind of like a hippie town. Like, if you are a young Western tourist who maybe likes yoga and marijuana and likes to, I don't know, chill, and maybe you don't like to shower
care about
that
the
much.
social,
yeah, like stuff like that.
social distancing.
Then you will like Bai. It's not my thing, you know. So, but the hotel we found there, I thought was so cool. It was not a big hotel, small little building with a few rooms, 500 baht per night. So up to this point, Jacob and I were staying in the same room just because either they didn't have any more rooms or because just to save money or whatever. I don't know. This one, we got different rooms. And I had like I'll put the video in. I had like a corner room on the second floor. It's like you know how Thai style room, it's like dark wood. It's like in like traditional Thai style rooms. They use a lot of like dark woods.
Mm-hmm.
It was like that style with cement, and they had like a cool stained glass window. And then I look out and it's like all the local houses and all the roosters and the chickens.
Must be
outside.
cold, right?
No, it was warm here.
It's warm?
Yeah. Yeah. It's depending on where the elevation is, that's when the temperature, you know, it was March, so it wasn't like December. It was still pretty warm. So and then our hotel was right along the route of their night market. So they have this night market. I don't know if they do it every night or a few days a week, but at night they have all food and shops and vendors, but it's a lot more for tourists, I think. And actually, I was filming a YouTube video, and just a girl comes up behind me and like starts talking and whatever. So this is the first time in the entire trip I saw foreigners. Before this, I didn't see any foreigners. I also noticed that I felt like the people in this city were not nearly as friendly or welcoming as the other places. And I guess it's because you're just dealing with these shithead foreigners all day long. So it's good and a bad thing. I think that area still has some interesting things to see. Like, we went to some waterfalls, we went to some interesting temple on the mountain, things like that. But for me, it's not really my thing. I saw a popular thing there is to do what they call tipsy tubing. It's like they bring you up the river, you get in the tube, and then you drink, and then you float down the river, and they pick you up at the bottom. But so many people are doing it, and they're causing like a problem. Yeah, it was in the news recently. Yeah. So one interesting place though we went, it's called the Bamboo Bridge. And I'm sure there's Thai names for all these things, but this was like the English name. And I don't really understand the history of this place, but it basically was like a farm. And there's an elevated walkway through all the fields, and it's made of bamboo. It's like this bridge that goes through all the fields, and on both sides are all the animals, like the buffaloes that all of you guys out there pay for. I found them out here in northern Thailand. So, but they have like the buffaloes and all the different animals. And I guess this walkway was created because there's I call it a monastery. I don't know what you call it, but it's where all the monks are in the back of this land. And they walk through the farm every day to go to the front to collect the food or whatever.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe it was just like a tourist attraction, but I don't know. Maybe it's like a legitimate thing. I don't know. So, but there was nobody there. It was just me and Jacob in this completely open farm field. There's nobody around. So we just start walking along the bamboo pathway, and we get to the end, and it's where all these monks live, and they have these little houses. It's like, have you ever heard of like a in English we say like a fairy tale? Like, what's the one about the three little the pigs and the big bad wolf? The pigs live in these little tiny houses, or it's like these little houses didn't look like they were real life. It looked like something from a movie, like Lord of the Rings or something. Like, so I thought a hobbit was going to come out. The monks live there. And the reason I know the monks live there is because, you know, the orange cloth, I don't know what you call it, what they wear. They wash it.
G1.
D1?
G1, like G, girl.
G1.
G1.
Okay. They wash it and they hang it outside.
Mm-hmm.
And we were, I mean.
Like a cabin?
It's hard to explain. They're like little houses.
Uh-huh.
Like the size of this room. And it was the one thing about this whole trip I can't get over that was especially true at this point, it was so quiet and peaceful. Like, especially living in Bangkok, there's always noise. Here, there's nothing. Like, sometimes you don't even hear any bugs, no birds, nothing. It's just so quiet. And like when we were there, we're standing outside, but Jacob and I are whispering like this because even if we're outside, we're afraid that people are going to hear us. And like, we don't know if we're really even supposed to be here.
Yeah.
And then the part that freaked me out though was we're walking through this area with where I guess these monks live, and I heard a baby crying. And
I'm gonna run.
Yeah, they had one house that was, I don't know if it was on stilts or it was like up high. It was almost like a tree house. Like it was maybe, I don't know, 3 or 5 meters up in the air. And then it was built on that platform. And I saw lights on and like stuff happening inside, but I heard a baby crying from inside there. And
what time is it? What time
this
was
was
that?
probably about 4 p.m., 5 p.m. And the sun was starting to go down. So it was starting to get dark. And
So
I'm
scary.
thinking, at first I'm thinking, why is there a baby? But then I thought, someone told me once that if someone has a baby and they don't want it, they might bring it to the monks and give it to the temple or something. The monks. Is that true?
Yeah, could be. Or sometimes it just like when they go to work or like do the farming thing, they might can like, like countryside like that, a spot that like no place that can take care of the children. They might like give to the temple to take care of it, and then they do the farming. It could be like that. Once they finish the farming thing, they come back and get their baby. But I don't know.
But it was very freaky. When you're in this place, it's dead quiet. But you know people are around. You know what it reminds me of? This area reminds me of the movie The Village by M. Night Shyamalan. I'm going to put some footage in here of that. That's what this little area reminded me of. Very creepy. But once I heard the baby, I'm like, I'm out of here. So we started walking out, and there's like dogs just roaming around. So now there's like 3 dogs going with us, and I've got footage of all this I'm gonna put in, and even I'm trying to record a YouTube video. I'm in the middle of a field on this farm, but it's so quiet. I don't even want to like talk to the camera because I'm afraid you'll be able to hear me from so far away. So we finish up there. We go back to the town. We have one more night at the market. Jacob buys some tourist shirts. You know those like white, or they have those like shirts they sell at all the tourist markets.
Yeah,
so like white shirts.
And like the name of that place, right?
No, it's not that. It's like Thai style shirts, like a loose shirt. It's like flowy shirt, something like that. But they sell it at all the tourist places. He bought some of those. Just dumb stuff like that. But it was nice to stay in a place we stayed there for 2 nights. Everywhere else, we were just there for 1 night maximum. So we kind of could chill a little bit. So we finished there, and then we drove back to Chiang Mai, which I think it was about 3 or 4 hours drive. And as we got closer to Chiang Mai, it's like more and more traffic. And also, it was getting hotter and hotter because I don't know if it's because of the elevation or because of the weather, But when we were in the mountains, it's pretty cool. Maybe not cold, but pretty cool air, not so humid. By the time we got to Chiang Mai, it was like being in a desert. So hot. And all the pavement is like reflecting the heat on you. We bring the bikes back. Now, I naively thought that, okay, there was an accident, but I have the insurance. It wasn't my fault. I have the video proof that the brakes didn't work. I have the police report.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be a problem, right?
Yes.
It was a problem.
So what happened?
They didn't want to give me back the deposit, which I think was about 10,000 baht. I think it was 10,000 baht.
Oh, that's why they give the second one for you like right away, because they keep the deposit.
Yeah. So I argued with them and they didn't want to do it. And they say, it's not our fault, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, I have the video and I have the police report. So, and they're like, we're not going to do it. And I said, okay. I mean, to be honest, for me at that point, it wasn't even about the money, because 10,000 baht, okay, like whatever, I'm alive. That's what's important. But I didn't like that I felt like they were trying to take advantage. So I went to the tourist police. And I have to say, the Thai tourist police are very helpful. They came to the shop. Well, I went to the police station, the regular police station, and they said, oh, you should go to the tourist police. So went to the tourist police and they said, what's the location? We'll send some people. So they said, go wait at the bike shop. So we went and waited at the bike shop. And then 20 minutes later, 4 tourist police people show up. And before, it looked like one guy was very official. He had like a badge. And then another person was there before anything is even said, they're taking pictures of the shop. They're taking pictures of the bike parked outside. And I'm thinking like, oh, this bike shop owner is going to be mad. And they talk back and forth. And they come back to me and they say, okay, how about they give you half the deposit back? And at first I kind of argue with them like, why? Like blah, blah, blah. And then eventually I just say, okay. But they got half the deposit back from me. And then the shop kept half. But it could have been a lot worse. But I thought that's good to mention though, because if you have a problem in Thailand, like I hear about some situations sometimes, like you rent a bike or a jet ski, or I don't know, you just have some problem with somebody, some shop owner. Don't get mad and yell at them and get angry at them and argue with them. I think in Thailand, that's a very bad thing to do.
Try to negotiate.
Don't escalate. I think you can be firm and negotiate and not accept what they say.
What if we do like that?
But if they really don't go with what you think is right, then I suggest going to the tourist police, because I think they will be more helpful than most people realize. Because I think a lot of people, they think of the Thai police as like not good or something. And actually, in my experience with the police here, other than what I mentioned before about they didn't want to include something in the report, I think actually they've been pretty helpful to me during my time in Thailand. So do that if you have a problem.
Yeah. Maybe in Chiang Mai it's good, but in Bangkok, I still found that it's not that helpful.
I've had problems in Bangkok and the police have really helped. My phone got stolen. Yeah. I didn't think they would care, but they did. So not everybody maybe, but you know. So that was basically it. We got back to Chiang Mai. I was still alive. We flew back to Bangkok. We had an incredible adventure for a week. And the thing is, it didn't cost much money. The biggest expense was renting the bikes. Other than that, a hotel room every night was about 500 baht, split 2 ways. The food was very cheap. I mean, incredibly affordable. So even if you didn't want to do it by bike, you can still do it by car. I think you would still have a great time. If you are going to do this trip by bike, just know, especially that area of Thailand, there's tons of mountains. It's very steep, very like a lot of turns. I'd be lying if I said I didn't stall the bike a few times. I definitely did, especially like sometimes you have to go on a very steep hill and then turn and go the other way. It's tricky, especially with a manual transmission bike and especially with like weight on the back. So there was one time where like I went to do that and I didn't I didn't have it in a low enough gear and I just stalled the bike and I fell over. So, you know, that stuff happens. But there wasn't much traffic on this trip. I'm not sure if it was because it was the time of year or the tail end
maybe
of COVID.
because of the season.
Or maybe that's just how it is out
COVID?
there. It was March of 2022. So it was, there were tourists in Thailand, but not so many like
not
now.
that many.
So I highly recommend it if you want to try something new. Or if you don't want to do it there, then do it in another place in Thailand. But pick some place that's got like a lot of nature.
Or hire some driver.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know if I'd feel better with a Thai driver.
Like, don't get yourself in danger.
Other than that, my tips would be to like do some research on the places you want to stop ahead of time. Make sure you pack, if you're riding a bike, good clothing. Like long pants, long sleeve shirt, also from the sun.
Or the first aid thing.
Yeah. First aid kit would be great.
Important.
I didn't mention this, but we were wearing helmets too. I want to mention that. In fact, I would say if you're going to do a trip like this, go and buy your own helmet ahead of time. Like we were wearing the shop helmet, but in the future, I would just buy my own because it would fit much better. It would be better quality. Bring straps for the bike if you're doing a bike trip. Bring enough cash, more cash than you need for the whole week, because you might not be able to find an ATM. You might have some problems with your card. They probably don't take a card in a lot of places.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or no internet.
Yeah. But that's basically, I just wanted to share that experience with you guys because it was undoubtedly one of the best experiences of my life, albeit I almost died. So I want to try something like that soon. I'm hoping to get another bike this year. I'm hoping to buy one. I'm hoping to buy a bike in Bangkok and then ship it to other places in Thailand to ride. So I don't know where yet. But why? Do you have a suggestion?
No, I don't know.
Okay, let's go to your hometown. We'll make a video.
Okay.
If you guys want to hear more stories about my adventures in Thailand, about how I almost die, about the people that I come across in this amazing country, hit the subscribe button, check out the Clips channel, check us out on Apple and Spotify podcasts, buy us a coffee down below, and we will see you in the next video.
See you.